Kevin, I'm an addict.
Hi Kevin.
Thanks Tim for inviting me. I was actually invited last week, but I couldn't make it, so and it weren't excuses. I just had a bit of work going on, so rather than sort of stretch myself a bit thin, I declined and made it for this week. So I suppose I'll start from the beginning really. I come from a sort of pretty normal family. I say a normal family. Most people probably wouldn't think it's normal, but I thought it was normal at the time. My dad weren't around from my age of about 3 for about 10 years. He went away for quite a while. And I weren't allowed to go and visit him and stuff like that whilst he was where he was. So, and then when he was released, him and my mum split up a year later, so I didn't really see a lot of him, and I haven't seen him a lot from then till now, probably half a dozen times. But saying all that, I had a pretty good schooling, nothing really major in with that, until when I started my secondary school, I found solvents. A friend of mine that I hung around with, his dad was a schoolkeeper, and we had access to quite big cans of Evo stick at the time, so we was doing that. We was doing one of them every couple of weeks between the two of us. So, and I got taken to the doctors for that on a few occasions actually by my mum, and I don't even remember it. It's only that I've recently seen my my medical history through an accident that I had at work, and my mum had carted me up there when I was 13. I don't recall that at all. I just remember using the Evo stick and stuff like that, and so from then on really I think I had a major problem with anything that took me out of how I was feeling towards myself really. That kind of progressed to sort of puffing, in school times and stuff like that, and I wouldn't say heavily really back then. Just it was kind of a bit of fun, all of us chipping in for a bit of puff, and when it was it was all giggling, laughing, got the munchies, that sort of stuff. It weren't till I was about 15, 16 really that I started experimenting with amphetamines and acid at the time. Cocaine and heroin weren't really on the horizon then at all. It was just that came many years later for me. And I was drinking a lot on top of that as well, so it's kind of like the amphetamines, kept me awake for days on end, which made me not go to school a lot, which then got me kicked out of school. When I did leave school, I did actually get a job. I was an apprenticed upholsterer, and still drinking quite heavily then, and then. I've always been really into my music, so I used to do a lot of parties for people and stuff like that, and I got introduced to other drugs along the way there, sort of from the acid to the ecstasy and the odd line of cocaine here and there, because I couldn't really afford it at the time. And then I decided that I should start making a living out of selling ecstasy, which at the time I didn't really. I earned good money out of it, but I didn't really think that I had a problem with the drug at all, because it didn't seem that sort of drug, because it was a happy sort of go-lucky drug. I didn't really think that it was having much sort of profound effects on me for the future, if you like. And I got caught selling them, and I done my first prison sentence, and that was in the late 80s, early 90s, and I come towards the end of my sentence there, and a guy was come from home leave, and he was smoking a bit of heroin, and he asked me if I wanted some, so of course I said yeah, and I only had about half a dozen lines on this floor. I was out my nut for a couple of days. I was gouging and dribbling, and it was great. That's the thing that we always follow, I think, and. And then I got released in '91, I didn't think of heroin at all again after that for about nine or 10 months. And a friend of mine come around and he had some methadone, and I had about 20 mil of that, and it put me on my arse basically. So I thought that was pretty good. But he was a user. He used heroin, so I dabbled in smoking heroin with him for a couple of months, and then he introduced me into injecting it. And then that was it. I was away. I was away. I was financially all right at that time, so I didn't really have to run around robbing people and, you know, being schemed for and all that stuff to try and support my habit. But I didn't even know I had an habit for about 18 months until I was offered a bit of work in. My missus. I've been with my missus for about 6 or 7 years at this point. She became pregnant, had my daughter, and then I was offered this job in Russia, so I decided to take that. I was out there for a year, and I thought that's when I realised I was kind of like in trouble. I was like withdrawing and stuff like that, but where I hadn't experienced it, withdrawing, I didn't really know what was happening, to be honest. That's how naive I was around it. And whilst I was out there, you couldn't get methadone or anything like that, but you could get morphine-based tablets, which I was taking and like coming down off of that, and that was all right for about 3 or 4 months. I was clean, and then the club that I worked in at the time, I asked one of the girls working in there if she could get any powdered cocaine, and she came back with heroin, and it was $20 American for about an eighth at the time. So that was I was out there for the best part of a year, and I come back. I was so ill. I weighed about 9 stone. I come back, my mum thought I was HIV positive and all the rest of it, because she hadn't seen me for so long. And so I looked terrible. And from then, really, that was sort of 94. I continued using once I got back for up until 9. I come back, and I went to our local service provider, and they told me to go and get to a meeting, which I did, and that was NA. So I was introduced to the fellowships, or fellowship at the time, via NA, like the steps and traditions and stuff. And I didn't really get a sponsor or listen or anything like that. I just kind of I just went there to please other people, really. And of course, all the time I was using, my addiction got worse and worse, and then crack come along for me, and I was using that hand in hand. But I'd always go for the brown rather than the crack and then the brown. They kind of went hand in hand with me, but I wouldn't. It'd be mad because I'd bang up a bit of white, and in the next groin I'd be banging up a bit of brown to come down from the white, because I didn't like how I felt on that. So it was all a bit, that got a little bit messy, for, and the money side of things with that. So I went into a rehab in '96, and first one of many that I went in through. So that was a bit of story of my life, really, from '96 till 98. I was in and out of different rehabs all around the country and stuff. I'd do a 3-month primary, 6 months secondary, be out a week and use. But still going to meetings and this, that and the other. And at this point, at 99, I landed in Bournemouth. And again, finished my treatment, lasted 2 or 3 weeks, bang at it again. And then I ended up, I got a flat via being clean when I come out of treatment, stuff like that, got all settled, and then obviously I'd relapse again, be back on the streets, in and out, that went on for a few years. And then I met my partner that I'm with now in 2004, I think, 2004. And I left Bournemouth and went over to Poole. I was clean at this point. And but And yeah, everything was going well. I was doing meetings. I was kind of like just chugging along. I felt good. I had about 6 months under my belt at this point. And my missus started working nights. So I thought that was a great time to have a use up. She wouldn't know anything about it. Come home, I'd still be in bed. I'd get up, she'd go to bed because she was working nights. It was great, you know, that worked out great for a little while until yeah, I couldn't finance it anymore. I was fucking taking credit cards out in her name and taking money from her account and all sorts, you know, just to cover my addiction. And then that come on top. Then I went into another treatment centre in Bournemouth. I completed that. Went into a dry house, done all that stuff, and then started the meetings again. Still not getting a sponsor, still not listening to people to, you know, do the suggested things. Now I just thought if it was that fucking easy, sorry swearing, that it would. Why do I have to do that? Simple suggested things, get a sponsor, go through the work. If it was that easy, surely taking that little element out, you can still carry on, even though my past experience showed me that wasn't the way. That, you know, I just never understand to this day why I didn't grab that with both hands, really, considering what I'm getting out of it now for how long I've just come back in. So cut a long story in half, I was in and out of treatment centres and detox places and all that up until 2012. I was finally clean. I was going to a CA on Monday night. Got myself a sponsor. Started going through the work, and then it was suggested to me, you could go and get a job. So I went and got a job. I started that job. I wasn't in the job 3 weeks, and a fucking lorry run me over, and I lost my leg. So I was about 7 or 8 months clean. I'm in hospital. I was in hospital for the best part of a year. It nearly killed me. So I was on all sorts of painkillers, morphine based again. And I suppose that was weird. I was having this conversation with someone outside. All the drugs I'd ever wanted was prescribed to me at this point. So I didn't have to go out. I had injectable painkillers. I had oral painkillers. I had patches that went on me. You know, I had all sorts of prescribed drugs, but it kind of like took the fun out of it for me, because I ended up just taking more and more of it. I had a NHS script, and I had a private script through my solicitor that was working on we had a big legal case going on with the local authorities at the time when I lost my leg. So I was abusing that left, right and centre, and then it became a point where I had to come down off it all, which I did, and I got to a point where when I get to the end of a detox, I know exactly what I'm like. If I'm not chained down somewhere, I'm gonna, as soon as I start feeling like shit, I end up going to use. So I got put into Flaghead to come off of all this prescribed medication that I was on, and I went through there, come out of there with flying colours. And then I was left with this real like empty gap, and obviously I wasn't continued doing the work. I wasn't in contact with my sponsor. This is kind of like the best part of a year later. And then I didn't have a leg at the time. I was waiting for a prosthetic leg, so it was difficult me getting around and stuff like that. I was sort of wallowing about in my own pity indoors. You know, I couldn't get from one room to the other. I was on crutches. I had minus one leg. I had a broken wrist and elbow and lacerations everywhere and stuff. So I started abusing the medication that I was on again. I was taking like a month's worth in a week, and then struggling for the next 3 weeks, and so on and so forth like that. And I started going back down to my CA meetings, got hold of a sponsor, started going through the work. I wasn't using street drugs, but I was abusing my prescribed medication big time, and I weren't telling anyone. It probably stood out like a sore thumb, but I just weren't telling anyone. I thought, well, I'm on prescribed medication, that's all right. And it weren't until my sponsor actually said something to me. I went away with him and he found a box of my medication. He said, "I didn't know you were still on that." And I said, "Yeah." And there was only like 1 strip in there, and there should have been 5 strips in there, and there was still like a month to go before my script was renewed. So he got on it straight away, and he said, "Look, I think you need to do something about that because you're fucking killing yourself, basically." So back up, he put me back on all the work again. I had to go back on another step 4, which I've done. I came out of that okay, really, but and then what I've done, I got this great idea that don't take no medication at all, just take the odd one here and there when the pain gets really bad. And I was doing that for a couple of months. So if I wasn't overusing, I was underusing. But what that was doing was I was going through a lot of pain for 4 or 5 days a week, and then for a couple of days a week I'd be alright, and then I'd let it get bad again, and then I'd pop a couple. So, and that had a massive effect on me because it prevented me from doing the work. I didn't let a power greater than myself come into my life. It was putting all these different obstacles in front of me, and that was pointed out to me as well. So I had to start getting truthful with my sponsor and a few other people, just saying, I need help, really. I reached out and thanks. I reached out and asked for help. And fortunately, the people around me, they supplied me with that help. But it was pointed out to me, I can have all this help, but if I don't do something with that help, it's not going to help me. It's just wasting everyone's time and mine. So I kind of, I got down, I knuckled down to the work. I eventually finished my step 4. It took me about 6 months to do. But and then I went through the work then. That was kind of like just over a year ago I started really getting into it and stuff. So I've for the first time in kind of like 30 odd years, I've got a year under my belt now, which I'm really pleased about and stuff. But I'm not. On the other hand, it's a little bit dodgy for me, really, because I've never really got this far before with all the using and stuff like that. So it's very important to me to have the right sponsor, to get the right information from him that suits me. And I believe everyone, even though we have all used the same drugs and gone down roughly the same paths, we're all individuals, and you kind of how I do my recovery might not suit everyone, and it suits me at the moment. So I'm really thankful for the sponsor that I've got, the people that I've got around me that I can call on any time and stuff like that. It's because the ricochet effect it has on, my partner now is, I call her my future ex-wife, and I'm not even married to her yet, because it's just what that woman's been through. I can't start putting people through what I've put them through over the years. It's the criminal element of it, and the mental abuse that I give people when I'm using. It's just I don't want to go through all that anymore. I'm getting quite old in the tooth for all that, so I just want to live a normal life, get on with things, get involved with the fellowship as best I can. I've got a couple of commitments, and I'm quite happy to do that. I've always planned my week out at the beginning of the week, and I tick the boxes, make sure I've done everything. If I haven't, I don't beat myself up about it. I'll just put that on to the next week and do it. And that's through good sponsorship, having good people around me, coming to the meetings, doing the suggested work, and just getting on with it. I'm a great believer of clean time is important, but for me, knowledge is more important, really, because we all pick up knowledge along the way. Just because you've relapsed, it don't mean to say that's forgotten about. You can still draw off of your past experiences and knowledge that you've picked up along the way, because in theory I've picked up quite a lot through all different treatment centres, and each time I've been in different fellowships and stuff, so I'm not letting that go to waste. I'm sort of trying to activate that as best I can at the moment. So I don't know if there's anyone new in the room. Get yourself a sponsor. listen to what he says, get him to, you know, the work that he puts in front of you, do it. Don't feel afraid to ask, and you know, if you're finding it difficult, speak to other people about it, pull off their experiences and get it done. Because what I've done in the last year, I wish I'd done all the other years prior to that, and you know, perhaps I wouldn't have caused as much carnage as I have along the way. So yeah, thanks again, Tim, and I'm going to leave it there. Thanks,
Kev.
Thank you.